And joining me now to pick up on some of the points that the president was making, Fox News anchor, former defense attorney, Greg Jarrett. Greg, I got a kick out of the way the president, in the midst of the celebration of economic growth, booming markets, and a love fest with the folks in West Virginia, referring to the witch hunt being led by Robert Mueller, saying there is no collusion, it is pure bull. That's my word. And you know what? Just on the day that we learn there's another grand jury that has been impaneled by the special counsel, he's saying this is a complete travesty. Yeah, he came out swinging. And he needed to do that, I think, because he's been taking a lot of punches lately. And a big forum like this, cheering crowds, and they're applauding him as he said, the Russia is a made-up story. And he said it over and over. He didn't need to mention Robert Mueller, the special counsel's name. But he made it perfectly clear that what Mueller is looking at is not a crime, that he has done no wrong, and that the only injustice is that they've paid no attention to Hillary Clinton. And, you know, he talked about the destruction of 33,000 emails and so on and so forth. And too often that's left out of the conversation. This broadcast, we started hammering this about 3 months ago when it became clear where this was going. And that is a Clinton foundation. There is an obvious pay-to-play fraudulent scheme. There is evidence of that, and considerable evidence. Well, I don't have to go to court, although I'll be delighted to. The fact of the matter is, it is a pay-for-play scheme. As Secretary of State, the woman is bringing in money. Her husband is being paid $500,000 by Russians, and what the hell does she think she's doing? And where in the world was the Obama administration? Why weren't they prosecuting? Well, one of the great injustices is that now we know there is a grand jury impaneled to investigate the winner of the presidential election, but not the loser. And go figure how in the world James Comey could spend many, many months, almost a year, investigating Hillary Clinton, not just mishandling of classified information, but, as you say, pay to play, and never impanel a grand jury. He gave immunity to 5 of Clinton aides. Others took the 5th, and no grand jury was ever impaneled. I mean, to me as a lawyer, it is inconceivable unless, of course, Comey and the Department of Justice under Loretta Lynch were undermining the entire investigation for the sole purpose of protecting Hillary Clinton. Well, we know, at least in part, that is what was occurring, because we now know, thanks again to James Comey, the Attorney General, Loretta Lynch, insisted that he not refer to the investigation of Hillary Clinton as an investigation, but simply as a matter. So, in other words, let's lie about it. Exactly. And that calls into question. And he, by the way, acceded willingly. Right. This is a man of such moral standing. And leaking government property to somebody unauthorized for the sole purpose of triggering a special counsel who is selected, oh, gee, by coincidence, his longtime close friend, ally, and partner, Robert Mueller, who now refuses to recuse himself even though the special counsel statute demands it. And where is the Republican leadership in the House? Speaker Ryan. The House leadership has simply, the House Intelligence Committee is That's an oxymoron. Yes, it is. But particularly in the case of the Senate Intelligence Committee, where Richard Burr of North Carolina, Senator Burr, has turned it over to Senator Warner, the ranking Democrat, and it's a travesty that's being, first against the President of the United States and the will of the American people, but on the entire nation now. Well, I think it's up to the House Judiciary Committee and the Intelligence Committee. The former is now asking, 20 members signed a letter to the Department of Justice demanding a second special counsel to investigate Hillary Clinton, James Comey, Loretta Lynch, Samantha Power, Susan Rice, the list goes on and on. Greg, why don't we also impanel a committee to find out why the hell it takes the FBI suddenly a year to get to what is already obviously true? and on the front pages of newspapers and the lead broadcast, the lead of broadcast, that the Hillary Clinton Foundation was corrupt.
There is a lot of explaining that needs to be done, and Hillary Clinton ought to be required to testify under oath, not just before Congress, and to begin to answer all the questions that have emerged since she last testified. But she probably, needs to be investigated by a special counsel, because there is, I say this as a lawyer of like 35 years, there's plenty of evidence there to warrant a serious investigation that would involve a grand jury.
Let me ask you this. Why in the world can't the Attorney General of the United States, the Department of Justice, impanel grand juries to get all of this done? We elected this president, and he has put in place his government.
Right.
Why do we need special counsel? Because when I watch Mueller, I think I'm watching an absolute train wreck.
Well, here's
a man of no character and a man of immense conflicts of interest.
Part of the problem is people don't realize that the Attorney General, Jeff Sessions, not only recused himself from any Russian-related issue, but remember during his confirmation testimony, he announced he would recuse himself from anything related to Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
So that's a problem. That's why you need a special counsel.
Can he unrecuse himself? Can he roll the clock back on this? Because I don't see any reason why he should. First of all, they were terrible decisions. I think the president is exactly right. They should have been discussed with the president. If he, before being appointed, I think the president is again exactly right. If before he was appointed, he intended to recuse himself, he should resign. But either way, he should roll back the clock.
When he raised his right hand in the Oval Office and took the oath, and standing next to the president, who expected his attorney general to serve fully and honestly, he already knew in his mind that he was going to recuse himself from the Russian investigation. He never told the president. That's an important material fact that he concealed from the president. No wonder Mr. Trump is angry about it.
Absolutely. And at this point, can he unrecuse himself?
Well, it's a little bit like trying to put the toothpaste back in the tube. It's a really hard thing to do. I mean, there would be a chorus of howls in harmony by the media and Democrats.
There are going to be howls no matter what. We've learned that. 6 months of howling, I think the president is probably willing to put up with a little more.
Probably. Sure, you can always unrecuse yourself. But I think the better course would be to select a fair, impartial, second special counsel to look into it. Only this time, let's impanel a grand jury, swear people under oath, subpoena witnesses and evidence, and let somebody other than James Comey decide the fate of Hillary Clinton. Comey laid out this very compelling case of how she violated the Espionage Act. And then all of a sudden, he leaped to an erroneous conclusion that no prosecutor would bring this case. That's absurd.